everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Movie Fans Unite podcast. This is this new show that I have. It is broken down into 4 sections. Basically, the main point of this is I've been wanting to do videos on my thoughts of certain movie trailers or movie news that broke out, or more reviews than I can cram in, and just general questions about movies in general that are small enough that I don't want to do a movie monologue talk show on. And that's basically what this podcast is. It's a broken down into 4 sections: movie trailers, movie news, a review of something I've watched this week, and a general question that I want to talk about movies in general. I just felt like I didn't have enough time with school and work in order to spend just one video working on one thing. So instead I thought, why not cram all 4 into one podcast? And then if this one podcast is too long for you to sit down and listen to, don't worry, I will split all 4 sections into their own separate videos, and I will post those online as well. So you can either marathon through the full episode or just watch it in bits and pieces as well. So we're going to start off with my first ever episode with movie trailers. And since this is the first episode, but we are in December, I thought I would break down a couple of my favorite trailers this year, as well as then go down to a couple of recent ones. So we're going to start off with my favorites this year. And number one has to be, not number one, the first on the list. This isn't in any order, although there is a clear number one, but this isn't it. And that is Deadpool. I'm really looking forward to this movie. I think Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool, and this trailer just proves it. It's hilarious. There's no real plotline developed in this trailer. We're not really getting a sense of what this movie quite is about, or the villain. And I'm totally okay with that, because all I really needed to know was if the movie can look good, and if it's funny. The Deadpool kind of funny, and this trailer proves it and knocks it out of the park. I'm really excited for this film. Like I said, it's hilarious. There's tons of funny moments, and I think the action in it can also be really well done. It's got this own unique style to it, where it's just a gritty R movie, and I will be there day one. The film just looks great. I can't wait for the next trailer, just to see more about what this movie is about, now that I'm kind of sold already. So my second trailer that I want to talk about is the Comic-Con Batman vs. Superman trailer. This isn't the new one. I will get to that later. But right now I want to talk about my favorite trailer of these teasers, and that's the Comic-Con one. This movie looks fantastic. The premise alone, Batman vs. Superman, is wonderful, and I'm glad they're doing this movie. DC has been struggling against Marvel. I'll be the first to say The Dark Knight is the best comic book movie of all time. But really, that's the number one DC movie. And other than Batman Begins and most of The Dark Knight Rises, I just haven't really liked many of DC films. Okay, yeah, Man of Steel is also good, but none of them have been to the level that Marvel has been doing recently. Now, I know some people are getting some fatigue from Ant-Man recently, but I disagree. I think Marvel is just nailing it when it comes to what they're doing with these movies. But Batman vs. Superman, this is the start of their Justice League franchise. This movie it looks great. The premise is amazing. Stylistically, the movie looks great. I'm really looking forward to Ben Affleck as Batman, because I think he can do a really good job. I want to know more about Batman, and I really am looking forward to a solo Batman film. But I hope that this film is really successful. Well, it's going to be really successful. I just hope that it can tell a good story and really jumpstart this Justice League franchise, because they really need to get it going. Otherwise, Marvel's just gonna keep making tons of great films. and overshadow DC, and when DC is just starting to really get going. So my number one favorite movie trailer of the year has to be Star Wars. And I'm talking about the Monday Night Football premiere trailer. I'm not talking about the international trailer or any of the TV spots, because honestly, I haven't watched any of them. After the Monday Night Football one, I've just decided that I don't want to see any more Star Wars. As I'm recording this on December 4th, I have less than 2 weeks until I see the midnight premiere of Star Wars Episode 7, and I'm freaking out. I can't wait. I'm so excited for this movie. Grew up watching Star Wars as a kid. I am now 19, and I still watch Star Wars all the time and talk about Star Wars all the time. I love Star Wars. Star Wars is my childhood. So, back to this trailer. It just looks beautiful, and it looks like J.J. Abrams knows what he's doing with this franchise. There's hardly any plot in it, and that's what I really like about it. You know, we get some of the characters, a little bit of backstory, you know, how it seems like Jedi and Sith are basically like a mythology now, or legend, with Han Solo saying, no, it's true, all of it's true. Yeah, this movie stylistically, it looks stunning. The music sounds great. Just having Star Wars, just the title alone sells me on it, and I will be there day one. I have my tickets. I'm so excited for this movie. Yeah, my favorite part of this trailer probably has to be the whole trailer, if that's an answer. Yeah, I don't really have a favorite moment. I mean, all of it is just breathtaking. I guess, you know, some of the opening, or not the opening shots, the wide shots of the X-Wings and TIE Fighters flying around, shooting each other down, just looks great. Finn and Kylo Ren going at it in the forest, the snowy forest, and you just get this impression that, is it Finn? Yeah, I think that's Finn. Finn really is underestimating going head to head against Kylo Ren, and it yeah, he just looks like he is not quite the matchup for Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren looks like he might win that battle. But anyways, yeah, Star Wars looks great, and I am avoiding all screenshots and trailers, TV spots, whatever, for 2 more weeks. I just have to make it 2 more weeks. So now we're going to talk about a couple more of the recent trailers that have come out. And we will start with Zoolander 2, or Toolander, or whatever they're calling it. So I just watched the first Zoolander for the first time this year. And I enjoyed it. I think it was a little overhyped for me because, you know, everyone talked about how funny this movie is. And yeah, there's some definite funny moments. I don't know. I guess it just wasn't the film for me. I appreciate how silly it is. And that being said, this trailer actually really sold me on the film. We'll see how the other trailers do, but I laughed a lot in this film. Benedict Cumberbatch's cameo as All, the model who is all. That was a funny moment. Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller look great back in their roles as Zoolander and Hansel. Yeah, Hansel, right? I can't remember. But bringing back Will Ferrell is a great choice. Penelope Cruz looks good in the side role. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of funny moments in it. It made me laugh a lot. So hopefully this movie is as good as this one trailer looks like it will be. So now, let's talk about the new Batman vs. Superman trailer. So when this trailer dropped, I instead of watching the trailer, I instead read some of the comments because I wanted to know if anything was spoiled in this trailer, because I didn't want anything to get spoiled for me. So I read the comments, and the comments mentioned, wow, this trailer spoiled everything. Wow, I just watched the movie. Oh my gosh, is that really... Oh, shoot, now I'm going to forget his name. Oh, what's his name? Doomsday, that's right. Oh my gosh, is that really Doomsday? So then, the comments actually ruined the trailer for me. So I decided, after watching this hilarious video, and if you have not seen it, you should. I'll leave a link for it down below. If you are unfamiliar with Greg Miller, formerly from IGN, now working at Kind of Funny Games, or Kind of Funny in general, he is a huge DC fanboy, and he released a 28-minute trailer breakdown / reaction video on this trailer of him just losing his mind. It's so funny, and not in a way where I'm like, haha, what a nerd, but where I'm just like, I'm happy for you, Greg. Am I this excited for it? No, I'm a Marvel fanboy. I still respect DC, and as a movie goer myself, I love all movies. In general, I'm excited for films. So yeah, I am excited for this film. I'm psyched to see Superman vs. Batman. Am I as excited as Greg Miller? No. And do I think this trailer was good? Not really. It was okay. One, it spoils. So, not a lot. We still don't know all the steps that lead to it. Obviously, and I am going to spoil this trailer, so if you haven't seen it, you don't want any of that, you can skip a couple minutes ahead. But, we all knew at the end of this movie, Batman isn't going to kill Superman, and Superman isn't going to kill Batman, because they need to form the Justice League. So they're going to put their differences aside, they're going to shake hands, and they're going to be teammates. But I was not expecting this trailer to ruin the reason why they decide to join together, and that is Doomsday. Lex Luthor creates Doomsday. How is Doomsday made? I don't know. People are theorizing that mutated form of General Zod's corpse. That's a rumor floating around. I don't have any rumors myself because, I'm not really familiar with the lore behind it all. But yeah, I guess Lex Luthor creates Doomsday somehow, or Doomsday shows up, or whatever, and so then Batman and Superman decide not to fight each other, and instead to team up with Wonder Woman and fight Doomsday. So yeah, what I would have rather not known, and then sit down at the theater and be blown away when Doomsday shows up in this movie, where I had zero expectation of him showing up. That would have been way cooler than me seeing a screenshot of Doomsday's face mixed with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles remake Michelangelo face, and how similar the two actually look. Yeah, the Doomsday character design, I would have liked more of the spikes or the beard or whatever that Doomsday has, instead of these little bumps and a Shrek-like face. And I'm just, I'm really nitpicking on this because, like I said, I'm still gonna go see this movie. And it still looks fantastic. This trailer hasn't sold me on the fact that this movie is going to be horrible. I think it's going to still be great. My biggest concern really is Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. He's a bit out of tone with the movie at some scenes, but then other scenes, like the one when he's talking to Amy Adams about being psychotic, that line was actually really good. So I don't know, the trailer probably isn't doing its best job on selling me on Jesse Eisenberg, so I'll keep my hopes high or low or whatever, my expectations low, and hopefully he does a great job in this film, and I'm sure he does. I like him in some of his films. I just think his overall character tone mixed with the tone of the movie don't mix as well. But that being said, the trailer itself wasn't cut very well. It revealed too much, but what it does show, I am excited for, and so that's that. So the final trailer that I'm going to talk about is one that I left last because I am a Marvel fanboy, and that is Civil War. Civil War looks so good. It looks so good. When Civil War was announced, I started reading the comics for it. It's nothing like the comics, and that's okay. It's still two sides of heroes fighting against each other. Is it as extreme or as big as the comic book? No, and it doesn't need to be. When it's revealed that it says Captain America Civil War, when that was announced, 6-9 months ago, I and others might have been confused. I was confused because I was like, Civil War shouldn't it just be like Avengers Civil War or something? But after seeing this trailer, no, I understand why it's called Captain America Civil War, because the whole reason this Civil War takes place, a large portion of it is because of Bucky and Steve's relationship with Bucky, and the fact that the government wants to bring Bucky in, and Steve wants to save Bucky because he knows Bucky's good, and Bucky will be good. At the same time, there's also like the events of the Avengers Age of Ultron, where a lot of city destruction happened, where the government's realizing maybe heroes need to be on a leash, a government leash. And obviously, Captain America doesn't stand for that, and Iron Man, on the other hand, does. He's all about, he has the Iron Legion, and he creates Ultron to save the planet. So obviously, he's going to be for that, protection and all whatnot. So yeah, this trailer alone looks so good. The movie looks great. I'm excited to see the fight sequences and how everything comes together. Also, some news broke out today where Robert Downey Jr. confirms that Spider-Man will make his first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Civil War, and I actually feel like I've known that already. I guess it was just heavily rumored, but never officially confirmed until recently. I am a huge Spider-Man fanboy. I love Spider-Man so much, and I'm so excited that he's going to be in this movie. I hope he's not in any of the trailers, because I really just want to sit down expecting an awesome movie and then to just get blown away when Spider-Man shows up on the screen. I hope he's in more than just like a small cameo at the end. I really want him to either show up, like my dream for it is that Captain and Iron Man and team are fighting against each other, and then Spider-Man swings out of nowhere, and he's just confused, and he's asking like both sides, like, what are you guys doing, why are you fighting, or whatever. And then, I don't know, have him team up with one or the other, or, just make fun of both of them or something, something, maybe have like some witty comments or whatever. I don't know. I just really want Spider-Man in the film, and he's going to be, so I'm really excited for that. Yeah, the film itself looks a little bit darker than what Marvel has been doing. At the same time, a lot of their trailers seem to be dark and edgy, in like the lightest term possible for dark and edgy. But and then when you go sit down in the movie, there's a lot of jokes and whatever, except Winter Soldier. I guess that's the darkest one out of all of them. But like Iron Man 3 had some dark trailer. Avengers Age of Ultron was kind of like that, and both those films are really funny and hilarious. So I don't know. It may not be that, and I hear like Ant-Man wasn't in the trailer. He's going to be in the movie, and I guess there was some like early footage from Disney convention or whatever, where he has like this hilarious funny moment. So I guess it's gonna be like Avengers Age of Ultron, but maybe with some darker elements, especially between Iron Man and Captain America, because those two. My favorite moment in that trailer is when Steve says to Iron Man, allegedly to Iron Man, that's what the trailer makes it look like, where I guess he actually says Tony's name in this line, so I guess there you go, where he says, like, I'm sorry, Tony, but Bucky's my friend, and then just a close-up of Tony in the Iron Man suit saying, so was I. It's so simple, yet heartbreaking. These two, they've fought like waves of aliens together, giant robots. They've saved the world twice, and yet these two friends are now disagreeing with each other. They're at war with each other, and it's heartbreaking, and it's gonna be a cool movie. I'm really excited for it, and this is Avengers 2.5 essentially, without Hulk or Thor. And with Spider-Man, so I'm happy for that. So, yep, this concludes my trailers for this episode, and now let's move on to some movie news. So for the movie news section of the podcast, I'm only going to be talking about 2 stories that I've picked out. These 2 are a little outdated, but I really wanted to talk mostly about both of them. Yeah, I want to talk about both of these. So the first one, there are going to be 2 more Prometheus sequels after Alien Covenant, which is pretty much Prometheus 2. So, am I excited for this? No, not at all. Excuse me. I love the Alien franchise. Alien and Aliens are up there on like my top 20 favorite number 1s of all time. Alien 3 is horrible and Alien 4 is a joke. But I love, like, the mythology behind these movies. I even find some enjoyment out of the first Alien vs. Predator. I know, it's sad, but there's some enjoyment out of it. I just love the history behind it, the mythology behind it. And so when the first Prometheus was announced, I was really excited. And then when I got there, I realized that this movie isn't going to give me any answers. Actually, I didn't realize this till after the credits. There's no answers. There's just more questions. And sadly, I'm going to have to sit through another movie to have these new questions get answered that I really didn't want. Anyways. Yeah, the biggest heartbreak for me about this is that Alien 5 was announced. And instead of calling it Alien 5, I guess now it's supposed to be Alien 3 because apparently this film is going to come out after, it's going to take place after Aliens, and Alien 3 and Alien 4 do not exist. That is the greatest plan ever. They should have just gone with that instead of doing a quadrilogy of prequel crap that I have to watch before I can even think about Alien 5 now, because I guess they're putting Alien 5 on hold. So, my thoughts on Alien Covenant. First off, the synopsis came out, and it sounds fine. It sounds like it's gonna be a good movie. It can be. It has the potential. Let me say that. It has the potential to be a good film. I guess the only thing they're keeping from Prometheus, to tie it together, is Dave, the robot played by Michael Fassbender, which is the only really great part about Prometheus besides how beautiful the movie looks. Dave is a great character. So yeah, having him be the only connection, allegedly, from Prometheus and Alien Covenant is good. The film kind of sounds like a remake of Alien, where it's like this new ship's landing on this deserted planet after this distress call or whatever, and then they find Dave, and then they realize this planet really sucks. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like it could be a good movie, and I'll probably enjoy it, hopefully. I'm really hoping I can enjoy this film. So there's that. Now, the idea of having 2 more films, do we really need 4 films to answer the questions? Like, I don't even really want to know any of these questions. I kind of just like what's in my head right now, and I really just want Alien 5 or 3 or whatever you want to call it. I mean, bringing back Sigourney Weaver, Ellen Ripley, and bringing back Hicks, I mean, come on, that's all you need to make this film great. Also, if you want to add Hudson in there and somehow bring him back alive and into the third one, I'll be fine with that. But really, like, what I've been asking for is a sequel for Aliens that disregards Alien 3 and 4. What I don't want is a quadrilogy of films to answer questions I don't want the answers to. Leave it a mystery. That's what makes it beautiful. It's like Star Wars. Yeah, I'm tying it back to Star Wars. I don't want to know that the Force is because of these Metachlorian crap bugs that crawl around people or whatever. I just want to know that the Force is this thing that lives and flows through us and surrounds us. It's this mystical presence. That's all I want to know. I don't want to know about the bugs. I don't want to watch a quadrilogy of films to explain to me that these are bugs. And I don't want to know why an alien, who made aliens. Can't aliens just be a thing? Can the eggs just be found on this deserted ship and we don't know what happened to it? Yeah, they should have just stayed with that. And that's really, I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Will I like Alien Covenant if it's if it's a good movie? It has the potential to be. At the same time, I just want Alien 3. That's what I want. So my second movie news, this one's probably going to be really short. Yeah, it turns out after the failure that is Fantastic Four, or Fourtastic, however you want to call it. Yeah, Fantastic Four 2 got canceled. Woo! That is good news, great news. So yeah, why am I excited for this? Yeah, because Fantastic Four was a horrible movie. It had so much promise with Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller, Kate Mara. Like, these are great actors and actresses, but how do you make such a horrible film? Oh, it was awful. It was awful. And it didn't make any money. Hardly any. So yeah, I guess Fox removed Fantastic Four 2 from its release schedule. So why is this sad? Because like this, 4 attempts at Fantastic Four. Yeah, there is 4 attempts because they did like this really old one or whatever, and none of them have been good. I mean, really, come on, like this is getting rough here. You guys are nailing it with X-Men. How come you can't make one good? Good. That's all I'm asking for is good. A good Fantastic Four movie. Excuse me. But why is this a good thing? Basically, to sum it up easily, Fantastic Four was awful, so Fantastic Four 2 is probably going to be worse. So, this movie doesn't deserve a sequel, and I'm glad it's not. This is a short segment. I just really wanted to talk about Fantastic Four 2 not getting released. So, this concludes the movie news segment, so let's move on to my movie review. So here is the review portion of the podcast, where I'm going to be talking about something I have watched recently, either a new movie release, something I watched on Netflix, on TV, whatever. So, this movie that I watched, it's called Creed. I don't know if you heard about it. It's a new movie, whatever. And in short, this movie is fantastic. Oh my gosh, this movie is so good. But before I get into how much I love this movie, let me give you a rundown of the history of Rocky for Manny. So when I was little, I would go to my parents' friend's house once a week. My parents had like a church thing or a meeting or something, whatever. So at this family's house, they owned Rocky 1 through 4 on VHS tape. So for once a week, I would watch one of these movies for like, I don't know however long it was, but I've pretty much seen all 4 of these movies several times in my life, and I love them so much. Rocky 5 is a huge disappointment. It had potential and it just failed miserably. Rocky Balboa is a good nostalgia movie, and a good story. I think it got a little silly at the end. The premise of bringing Rocky back into boxing is it's a little silly, but I still enjoy it, and I still find enjoyment out of it. And it has the greatest movie speech of all time when Rocky talks to his kid about life and how hard it can hit you. One of my friends, she used that speech during graduation, and it was amazing. It was the best part of graduation and a highlight of mine, even though she probably doesn't realize that, how much I love these films. So anyways, besides Star Wars, Rocky is probably my favorite franchise of all time. I love these films so much. And when Creed was announced, I got so excited. Apollo Creed is my favorite character, okay? So when I heard that they were going to make a new Rocky film where Apollo's son wants to be a boxer and he wants Rocky to coach him, are you kidding me? This is the greatest premise to a sequel since Star Wars 7, maybe. Hopefully. Cross my fingers. So I was so pumped up for this film. Then the trailer came out, and it got me even more pumped up because Michael B. Jordan looks like the greatest person to play this role. I don't know who else could play this role better in this day and age. But man, then I saw this movie. Oh my gosh, this movie was so good. Oh, this movie is on par with Rocky 1. I'm not kidding. It is. Rocky 1, it's still going to be number 1. I mean, when it wins Best Picture, and it basically sets motion for all boxing films. It makes everything a cliche. Tells the greatest underdog story of all time. Of course it's going to be number 1, but Creed comes in a close second. I enjoy the other films as well. I love those films. Rocky 4 is just such a fun movie to watch, except for the Apollo Creed death scene. Spoilers. Yeah, I mean, these films are fun, and then Creed comes out of nowhere, and it's such an emotional film. It's such a beautiful film. more about the character study than about the fights itself. I mean, there's no big Russian villain in this one. There's no Clubber Lang in this one. You know, there's no Apollo Creed in this one as the bad guy. And it really doesn't matter because that's not what the movie's about. It's not about Creed's struggle against Thunderlips. It's Creed's struggle at, wanting to make his own legacy and not live, and not create this legacy based off of his name alone. He wants to prove to himself and he wants to prove to others that he can be this great boxer without writing Creed as his last name. So I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Let me talk about the premise a little bit. The elevator pitch for this movie. As I said before, he wants to be a boxer. That's generally what it is. So his dad, Apollo Creed, died when he was very, very little, and so he grew up without a dad, who happens to be probably, arguably, the number one boxer of all time, aside from Rocky Balboa. So he decides, after living in LA, he wants to move to Philly. He wants to be a boxer. After growing up in fame, he has this great job and whatever, but now he wants to be a boxer. He wants to prove to himself that he can be a boxer. So he looks for help from Rocky Balboa, and he wants Rocky Balboa to train him. And meanwhile, we have Rocky Balboa, who has pretty much lost a lot. He's very alone. He still has Adrian's, the restaurant, but he's by himself, so he doesn't have anyone. And then all along, here comes Apollo Creed's son, who he never knew, wanting to have him coach. So then they decide to go for it, and that's my elevator pitch for this movie. It's a great Rocky film, and it has the same Rocky feel, and that's why I love it. It's an underdog story. Is it a cliche? I wouldn't really say it's full of cliches. It's very special film in its own work. The cast itself is a standout. Michael B. Jordan physically looks the part, and he acts the part. He is incredible on screen. I can't wait to see more of what he can do. The director of this film directed a movie called Fruitvale Station, which I haven't seen yet, but it's on Netflix. It's on my list. And in it stars Michael B. Jordan as well. And after seeing this film, I'm like, okay, now I have to watch Fruitvale Station and see these two work again, because he was so good in this movie. But who I think is even better in this movie is Sylvester Stallone. Oh my gosh, his dramatic performance in this movie is incredible to watch. Especially, after 6 films of history with this guy, you've watched this guy grow from the greatest boxer to this nobody to the greatest boxer, and back down to, an old nobody, essentially. So just to see the struggles that he has to go through and his relationship with Donnie Creed is wonderful on screen. Also, this movie has a great score to match its film. The other ones, I think, have better scores and more memorable songs. Eye of the Tiger. But the soundtrack in this movie works with this film, and it works with Creed. It sets it apart from the other films. Now, would I have liked to have the iconic song at the end of the fight like the other 6 films? Absolutely. And that was, one minor little nitpick that doesn't affect the overall score of this film. But I would have liked that. But other than that, it matches the tone of this movie, the feel of this movie, and it's great. And I have the soundtrack on my phone, so when I eventually work out, probably never, I have this soundtrack because it's going to work. So here are my 2 little nitpicks, and these are very small. I honestly, this film is so good that I really don't want to, don't frame this in a way where I'm saying, oh, this movie sucks because of this and this. I'm not saying that at all. I love this film. But here are my 2 nitpicks. One of them is a little spoiler, but I'll get to that one last. When they introduce these famous boxers, into the movie, the first time you see them and the first time Donnie makes eye contact with them, well, I guess not. But when you see these boxers on screen for the first time, the movie pauses and it gives a stat sheet. And it gives all these stats. And honestly, I couldn't tell you a single thing that I read from any of those stats at all. So I felt like it just was like we're going along on this perfect road, and then you just pump the brakes. and then you just give a little bump on the road or whatever. I don't know. It just felt a little out of place, and I really didn't care for it. And I don't remember any of it. I get what it's trying to do is trying to give you some backstory with these boxers, to show you that they're big shots. But I really didn't pay attention at all to that. Now here's my little spoiler for the film. So skip a minute because it's just gonna be a little minute. And here's the warning: 3, 2, 1. So in Apollo Creed's final fight, he loses. And it's the Rocky Balboa cliches. He lost the fight, but he won the fight. And I get it, I get what it's saying to the movie, and it works in the movie. Don't get me wrong, it does. I just feel like he deserved to win that fight. Maybe I'm just, feeling bad for him because he lost the fight. I don't know. It just felt like a little cliche. It's not affecting my overall score at all. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of bugged me, but it's okay, whatever. So yeah, and to talk about the fights really quickly, without spoiling them, the first fight is such an incredible fight. I need to buy the Blu-ray just to figure out how they did this fight because it's so great. And the second one also is more of your classical Rocky fight, which isn't a bad thing. It's fantastic. This whole film is fantastic. And so my score for this film is an A. It's an A. No shocker there. It's an A. I love this film. Will they make more? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Do I want them to make more? No. I think the film ends with the perfect conclusion for both Rocky, and in a way where you get the sense of Donnie Creed. His conclusion. He's still gonna make this legacy for himself. So yeah. I don't. They might make more. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know how the box office numbers are going for it, how much the movie's profiting. I assume, if it profits a lot, they're going to make more. And I will still go see them. I just really don't want them to do another Rocky 5. And that's all I'm really saying when I say I don't want any more. So yeah, Creed was fantastic. If Star Wars 7 wasn't coming out, this would have been my number one movie of the year, as in number one looking forward to, and now currently my number one film of the year until I see Star Wars 7 and talk about that. So, there was Creed. This has been the movie review portion of the podcast, and now let's move on to the finale, my movie question. So here is the final segment of my podcast, the movie question portion. Today's question is, how can Marvel films improve? This is more focusing on the solo films and less on the team films. So I'm not going to be talking about Avengers, Age of Ultron, and pretty much Guardians of the Galaxy, even though it's more of a solo film and less of a big team, but whatever. So I love the films. I loved Ant-Man. Winter Soldier is fantastic. But, people are saying that these films are getting some they're getting some fatigue. And I kind of agree with where they're going from. I still enjoy these films a lot, and I think Ant-Man was a great film in its own right. Can it improve? Absolutely. So I have 3 ways that I think the movies could improve, and I hope they kind of do. So the number one, my go-to, and I think everyone's go-to if they were to address this question, and that is better villains. Loki and Ultron. Those are the only good villains in this entire universe. Everyone else really just sucks. Now, Thanos is not in this list because we really haven't seen much from him. But everyone else just lacks. It's so... They're so... not horribly done, but forgettable. So, Marvel really needs to focus on making better villains. Villains like Loki, like Ultron, like Joker. So, yeah, if you can make better villains in this film, then you can improve. So Civil War is a little different, and of course this is also a team one. But, making Iron Man kind of being the villain, sort of, I guess it depends on what side you're on, villain. Actually, I believe there's supposed to be a third party in that confronts them. But yeah, just figuring out a better way to make these villains, giving them more motive, and more reasons to care about the villain. I know that sounds strange, to care about a villain, but when you look at Loki's story, coming from being the brother of Thor, realizing Thor is not fit to be a king, wanting to be a king, and then realize, oh, hey, by the way, Loki, you're actually not an Asgardian, you're a frost giant that we adopted and we haven't told you about that yet. Also, Thor is going to become king. Hope you like that. Goodbye. That there alone, you care for this villain, in a sense. You understand sort of where he's coming from. His whole life has been a lie, and he feels like he needs to be a king, and then he gets to watch his stupid half-brother, or whatever you want to call him, who doesn't deserve the crown, become the king. Sort of. He doesn't actually. But, he's on his way to becoming the king, and Loki hates that. That's the motive you need. Yeah, Ultron was more of a likable villain and less of a, like, you care for him kind of villain, and actually, I feel like he could have been done better, because Loki's the best one that they have, but really, understanding the motive and caring for the villain, that's really what you need to go for with these villains. My second improvement that I think Ant-Man did really well, and that is lowering the risk of the film, or of the threat. Ant-Man was a heist movie in general, so the risk really wasn't that big. It was more Hydra getting this equipment of this shrinking suit, and that was the biggest threat. Unlike Winter Soldier, where there are 3 ships floating above the sky that are literally targeting the heads of every threat known to man and are going to take them out unless Captain America can put a floppy disk into a slot. That's a huge risk. And the problem with this risk is that this universe is so expansive, and when you can call the Avengers and yet you decide not to, like, really? And I'm not really nitpicking on Winter Soldier because I get it from a story standpoint. Captain America, S.H.I.E.L.D. is Hydra, so Captain America doesn't know who to rely on. So I get it in a sense that, yeah, drastic times, he can't really call Iron Man because maybe he doesn't have the right connections to do that, and he doesn't want to, and he's hiding anyways. Excuse me. But I look at a film like Thor: The Dark World, where literally there are 7 worlds or whatever that are in danger of being destroyed. And so Thor has to take down this dark elf thing, and never once occurs to him, hey, maybe this would be easier if I don't know, called Bruce Banner up on the phone, or Tony Stark, or Captain America. I know from a movie standpoint, maybe you can't afford having Robert Downey Jr. show up in Thor: The Dark World. But then don't make the risk so huge that it feels like common sense to call them, or someone for help, and not just take it on by yourself. So if you lower the risk of the film, you remove this urge for the movie audience and for people like me to be like, yeah, but why doesn't Thor call Iron Man? Oh, because it's an Asgardian threat only. So how is Iron Man going to show up there anyways when they're under pressure like this? That makes sense. So yeah, if you could smother the risk for the solo films and leave the huge risks, like a giant island crashing into the planet, basically being an asteroid that will wipe out civilization, leave that for an Avengers film and not for a Thor film. My third and my final point here is to mix up the genres of the films. Yes, I know they're all superhero films, but if you take a film like Iron Man and you take a film like Winter Soldier, those are 2 completely different genres. You have your normal superhero film being Iron Man, and then you have this spy thriller film being Winter Soldier, and a superhero just happens to be the spy. Or Ant-Man being a heist film instead of a superhero film. It's not about Ant-Man versus the Hornet, no, Stingray, Yellow Jacket, yeah. It's about him breaking in and stopping this production from happening. So basically, if you really want to wrap it up, what I'm trying to say here is that have these solo films be more like the Marvel Netflix series, Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I'm not finished with Jessica Jones. I love Daredevil. Daredevil does these 3 great. The risk is not huge. It's very small. Kingpin is a great villain, and there's one episode that focuses on his backstory, so you care for him and you kind of understand where he's coming from. And the genre is actually more of a court case and less of a superhero film, because Daredevil doesn't have these great powers, and Kingpin isn't this imposing force that's putting a gun to the Earth's head. Jessica Jones, on the other hand, that one's a little different because she doesn't really use her powers all that much. The villain, Kilgrave, is incredibly scary from a villain standpoint, and from what Marvel has done with these villains. Kilgrave is a huge step in the right direction, but in a very concerning direction from a character standpoint. Genre-wise, I'm not sure what to define it, because I'm not sure if I'm actually enjoying the series or not. I appreciate it for how original it's trying to be. Is it entertaining? I'm not quite sure yet. So yeah, basically, if the solo films try to be similar to the Netflix series, then I will be totally okay with these films. Am I saying that the films that are out right now, do I hate those films? No, not at all. And I'm not really experiencing any superhero fatigue. I'm just trying, there's always room for improvement. And that's what I'm going for with this. It's just 3 simple little things that I feel like if the films use all 3, I would enjoy these films better. I'm not a filmmaker, so I could be saying all the wrong stuff. This is just my opinion, and that's what it's, that's what we're all here for. As movie fans, we all have our own opinions, and all our opinions are right to us. And they might be wrong to some other people. But that's okay, because that's what movies are for. And also for entertainment and cool Star Wars stuff. Go Star Wars. So that wraps up my number 1 podcast, the Movie Fans Unite podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. Should I keep doing these? Should I stop right now? Should I do this in a video format? I don't think I should, though, because I don't think I could keep up, being on screen, for 50 minutes. I like actually just sitting here and talking to a mic, staring at a blank wall, and thinking of Star Wars. Enough Star Wars for this one. There's never enough. Anyways, this has been the Movie Fans Unite podcast. I'm your host, Manny. Hello from the moviegoer lobby. If you like this, share it, like it. Do you. This is the end of the first episode, and I will see you all later. Bye.